Hello all, my name is John Lemon. The topic for my persuasive essay will be that of pay-for-play for college athletes. As we know here in America, college sports bring in a great deal of revenue for schools, especially for those schools that have top-tier teams, such as your University of Duke here in North Carolina or your University of North Carolina, and also universities such as those of Texas and Texas Tech, Notre Dame. Numerous programs across the country have these top tier sports programs. And the argument has been made that with as much revenue as these schools bring in from these so-called students' hard work, should these students get paid to play? Now, from many sides of the fence, the argument is no, because these student athletes are getting, number one, a free education. They're getting, number two, free room and board. And this should suffice for their efforts that they do on the field and or on the basketball court or track or whatever it is, particular sport that these students are involved in. However, when you look at the monetary amount that is brought into these schools, for instance, Mac Brown, who is the full-time coach at Texas, who runs the football program there, he is paid an average of $5.6 million a year, and he also receives a $10,000 to $15,000 bonus if the team happens to win 5 games straight. Now, I don't know your football acumen, but winning 5 games straight isn't really a major feat in college football, but to be paying someone to do such a thing when it not being considered a bowl game is quite a substantial amount of money. Also, when you look here in my neck of the woods, here in North Carolina, when you look at your Duke, Coach Krzyzewski, he also has $1 million salary. He teaches these kids and he grooms these children, but also it also leads to the question that if he is coaching these athletes and they are the ones that are on the floor performing day in and day out, should they also be compensated? Now, the argument has been raised by many student athletes who see their jerseys hanging in the windows of their local stores, who see their numbers and printed on t-shirts or coffee mugs or teddy bears and the like being sold out of these stores, and yet there is no revenue given to these students. And again, the argument is raised for, well, they're getting a free education. Well, if you look at the average student's college education, depending upon degree, of course, you will find that the average cost for a top 10 school or an Ivy League school probably can run you anywhere from $40,000 to $80,000. And so, but when you look at the money that is generated, the question has to be asked, is it really fair to call these students or to pay them to be athletes? Because when you look at the amount of money that is brought in by these programs, it is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And doing my research, I found that Texas alone brought in a whopping $125 million alone simply from its football program. This was inclusive of jersey sales, ticket sales, memorabilia, and all of these things. All of these things that are going around the program. And yet you have students that have come forth and say they can barely find money to eat, and yet off of their backs they are producing hundreds of millions of dollars. So is it fair to pay student athletes to play a sport? Many would say that paying a student to play on the college level, it no longer makes it a college sport, but it now turns them into professional athletes. However, we have the coaches who are making more than the school dean coaching these students and asking them to perform. When you look at the statistics, you find that these students' attributes on the field or on the court are primary even to their education. Now, I've known many people who have sided with not paying these students because they feel that it is a slap in the face to the other students who also work hard in their given fields who are not athletes. When you look at a medical program and these students are studying day in and day out and in labs day in and day out, they were like, well, what makes an athlete, what is the word that I'm looking for? What makes an athlete more valuable than your average student, your medical student, your law student? Can it really be justified in paying these students exorbitant amounts of money due to their chosen profession? Oftentimes, when you look at it, the goal of college athletes is to make it pro. Whether it's basketball, whether it's track, whether it is gymnastics, regardless of what it is, the hopes of all of these students is to go pro. But then again, the argument is still raised that they're getting a free education. However, when you do the research, you find that the education is only free contingent on their performance in their given sport. Now, many people will say that I don't believe that these student athletes should be paid because first and foremost, they are students and they are in college and they have made the decision to play. And I do agree with that to a certain extent. However, I also believe that as these student athletes generate these millions of dollars, that there also should be some type of stipend given. And I'm not saying that we should pay these students, millions of dollars because in fact they are young kids and having that kind of money can only lead to trouble, in my opinion. However, I believe that it is a subject matter that really needs to be looked at. I believe that it is a subject matter that is, widely debated and it is worthy of the debate. But as I get ready to come to a close, I would ask you, in doing the research and looking at programs and looking at how much money is generated by these schools, do you think that it's fair to pay these students to be athletes, or do you think it would be an injustice to the school system to pay these students to be athletes? I hope I've given you some food for thought on this particular subject matter on pay for play with college students, and I hope that it will evoke some type of dialogue amongst you and others. May God bless you and may He keep you.